This is Darwin doing the moonwalk like a goat. And this is Nicole being literally Superman, or I guess in this case, Superwoman? From celebrities to classic games, here are all of the real-life references that I could find in Season 1 all the way up to Season 3 of Gumball. Starting in the first episode, the DVD. When Nicole reminds Gumball to return the DVD, Alligators on a Train, she says,
I wasn't the one who watched Alligators on a Train 72 times.
Alligators on a Train is actually a play on the 2006 movie Snakes on a Plane, which Gumball and Darwin accidentally destroy, and try multiple ways to make up the money to pay off the fine. From making a cardboard replica, to begging in the street, and even, jump scare warning, getting jobs. But none of them work. And all the way in the office, Nicole mentions that her mother senses are tingling, which is an obvious reference to Spider-Man and his spider senses that helps him sense out danger. And just like Spider-Man, you do not want trouble with Nicole. So Gumball thinks of the idea to download a copy of Alligators on a Train. Darwin says that piracy is stealing and gives multiple examples, like you wouldn't take a car, a woman's purse, and a cell phone, which is a play on the anti-piracy ad that says things like you wouldn't steal a car, or you wouldn't steal a TV, and then ending by saying that pirating movies is also stealing. But after making their own version of Alligators on a Train, Nicole arrives, and she is not happy at all, and the boys try to make a run for it in the backyard, where we get one last reference. When chasing the boys, Nicole jumps on Penny's mom, playing a sound effect from the original Donkey Kong arcade game. In the episode The Responsible, after babysitting Anais goes horribly wrong, the house gets flooded, with Anais stuck inside. So in a desperate attempt to save their little sister, Gumball and Darwin go in. But because there's only one fish brother, Gumball struggles to breathe underwater. That is when Darwin gives oxygen to Gumball by giving him mouth to mouth. Yeah, that's something you just have to get used to seeing. But this could actually be a reference to the face-to-face movie from the Kirby games, where Kirby eats a healing item and then quickly shares it with a partner by passing it mouth to mouth. What at first looks like a weird interaction from Gumball and Darwin was actually a lifesaver, while still showing love to a beloved franchise. In the episode The Third, when Gumball and Darwin grow bored of each other, they start searching for a third friend, which is when Tobias appears. And when he goes over being colorful, another Donkey Kong sound effect plays. In the episode The End, Gumball and Darwin see signs that make them think the world will end in 24 hours. From TV messages, birds, and even Bobbert telling them about the solar eclipse, they are convinced that the world is about to end. Then a countdown starts ticking, which is a reference to the action drama titled 24, where each episode covers a single day in real time with the clock ticking down. The TV message is also a reference to Shaun of the Dead, where Shaun flips through channels and the dialogue from different shows and strings them together into a single warning about an apocalypse. Then, on their way to school, they hear Gary screaming and having a sign that says the end is near. This is a reference to The Simpsons, where Homer wears a similar sign, while also screaming like a madman. For the last reference in this episode, after thinking they only have 24 hours left, Gumball and Darwin start doing everything in their power to live out their wishes before the world ends. From Gumball immediately trying to get married to asking for a pony, he isn't holding back. He even offers Nicole to combine all of his birthday presents into one, and says,
Mom, I'd like to make you an offer you can't refuse.
Which is a reference to The Godfather. In the episode The Quest, after losing her precious Daisy, Anais has Gumball and Darwin try to get it back, but they end up having to face their worst nightmare, Tina. So they sneak into Tina's home to get her back, but as they get her back and make their way to the exit, Tina appears, blocking their way. But Gumball thinks as long as you stand very still, since her vision is based on movement, you will be safe. But Tina immediately busts through that myth by saying it only works in the movies. That being a reference to the classic movie trope that dinosaurs won't attack you if you don't move a muscle, best seen in movies like Jurassic Park. In the episode The Pressure, Masami lies that Darwin is her boyfriend, forcing him into awkward situations, while Gumball tries to help, only to get distracted by the chance of having to be close to the love of his life, Penny. But when Masami reveals that they're gonna kiss at Molly's treehouse, Darwin makes a wide. That could be a reference to the famous brown monster mascot Domo, known worldwide for his rectangular body and open mouth. In the episode The Painting, when Gumball and Darwin undergo Mr. Small's training for undisciplined children, we see two references. While channeling the ringer, Darwin makes a giant scream bubble that pops with a huge blast, cutting to black and white video of a house exploding, a reference to the 1955 nuclear test film Operation Q that shows the effects of atomic bombs. Then we move on to the second lesson, where it's all about painting. And while teaching his lesson, Mr. Small breaks a painting of Mr. Robinson's, which is a reference to a famous portrait of George Frederick Handy from the 1700s. In the episode The Ghost, Carrie is grossed out while watching Gumball and Darwin loudly chow down, complaining that ghosts can't eat or taste. So Darwin suggests she just borrow Gumball's body, and before he can say anything, she takes over Gumball's body, and we get a montage of Carrie going absolutely ham. From fast food to garbage and even Donut Cop, nobody was safe. She is just like me on Thanksgiving. Though this is actually a reference to a music video titled Smack My Girl Up by The Prodigy. But the music video shows a first-person perspective, just like Carrie, as they go through an entire night of chaos. After trying everything he could to stop Carrie, he finally tells her no, but that doesn't stop her, and she takes over anyway, going absolutely crazy at school, eating every bit of food she can find. But when Anton is eating his sandwich, what does that count as cannibalism? She appears in the ceiling and twists her head all the way around, which is a reference to the movie Trainspotting, where a baby is on the ceiling and twists its head, just like Carrie. In the episode The Prank, Richard pranks both Gumball and Darwin with a bottle of ketchup, which they do not take so lightly and proceed to torture poor Richard with the most craziest pranks you can think of. From switching his prank tape, to making him act silly on the roof, to getting him stuck in the chimney, the boys have him completely at their mercy, but still take it further by putting their sleeping dad on a rubber raft and sending him floating down the river. This is a reference to the movie The Parent Trap, where the twins, Annie and Haley, prank their dad's fiance, Meedrith, by sending her off an inflatable bed during a camping trip. In the episode The Refund, Gumball and Darwin wait 7 months for a video game, only to find out it doesn't fit their system. So they head to the store for a refund, but Larry just doesn't budge. So they have to find creative ways to get their money back, from hypnotizing Larry to showing him a sad video, and even pulling out the big guns by bringing in Richard. Nothing works. Instead, it all backfires as he brings out the big scary store manager, who just turns out to be a tiny bear. To Larry though, he's terrifying, and leaves the store before getting locked inside the shop, almost leaving his hat, but getting it at the last second, which is an obvious reference to Indiana Jones. In the episode The Robot, Bobbert feels left out and wishes he can be a real boy, so he copies Gumball's emotions, voice, and eventually his whole identity, and takes his spot as the loser of Elmore. I mean, the main character of Elmore, even convincing the rest of the Wattersons to think he's the real one. But Gumball isn't letting it slide, and he challenges Bobbert to prove who the real Gumball is. And after a crazy battle from the two, Gumball comes out on top and reclaims his spot as the one and only Gumball. This episode's plot is an obvious reference to Pinocchio, who also dreamed of being a real boy. Bobbert also calls his mom Mom Unit.
Coming, Mom Unit.
Which could be a reference to the character of the same name from Whatever Happened to Robert Jones. In the episode The Goons, Anais feels left out from the boys because they're all dumb. So she decides to try to be dumb for a day, so she can spend the day as an actual Watterson. But after some lessons, and finally realizing that to be dumb, you don't have to think at all, she ends up stealing all the attention from Richard and Darwin, which causes Gumball to get jealous. And in one of their little games, games, they play toe wrestling, with Darwin and Anais' toes looking like Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. In the episode The Secret, Gumball and Darwin get stuck in the bathroom, and thinking they were trapped forever, he confesses that he was the one who drew a creepy picture in Darwin's school book, which got him sent to counseling over the summer. And just as Darwin is about to say his secret, Rocky lets them out, which causes Gumball to spend the whole episode trying every trick he can think of to make Darwin confess, from spicy food traps to fake phone calls and even mind reading, but none of them work. Darwin only lies to him with a small secret, while the real one is an embarrassing video of Gumball.
Check this out.
Which is a reference to the viral webcam dance fail, where a girl's dance goes horribly wrong. Also, while Gumball is still trying to uncover Darwin's secret, when he finishes whooping Darwin in a video game, we get a reference to Mortal Kombat's Finish Him. In the episode The Genius, Darwin is taken to a government institution after scoring perfectly on the aptitude test, which leaves the Wattersons heartbroken and makes Gumball want to be accepted into the institute as well, to be with his fish brethren. But he's really gonna need some luck to do that, as he's so dumb that his brain literally walks out on him. But after some convincing, they do a quick training montage and think they are ready to take that test. However, if you look closely during the montage, you can see some photos of the famous scientists like Darwin, no, not that Darwin, but Charles Darwin, and Albert Einstein, and Stephen Hawking, all of which made groundbreaking contributions to science. After the plan to take the test fails and all hope seems lost, Darwin returns, but the agents still demand one genius. This makes Gumball's brain speak up, and Gumball says,
Be quiet! Don't listen to him. He's insane in the membrane.
Which is a reference to Cypress Hill's Insane in the Brain, a song that blew up in the 90s, where the phrase became a popular catchphrase in pop culture. In the episode The Poltergeist, Richard hears strange noises in the attic and panics, convinced it's a ghost, and spends the whole night setting up traps, which get Nicole, not a ghost. And while it turned out that the noises were really from Mr. Robinson, he's actually wearing a vacuum on his back, most likely a reference to the Poltergust from the Luigi's Mansion series. The title could also be a reference to the movie Poltergeist, as the episode is titled exactly that, and they both share certain paranormal activity, or at least that's what Richard thinks. In the episode The Mustache, Gumball and Darwin accidentally turn into Unk status after a breakfast mix-up, which at first seems like a great thing, as they test drive cars, pay for expensive movie tickets, chop down trees, eat huge amounts of meat, buy power tools, get tattoos, and even hire and fire people at the office, until they realize that being an adult kinda sucks. And they haven't even gotten to the worst part, having to deal with the IRS. But they soon are saved when they find out it was all an accident, and the effects of the breakfast mix-up will wear off after 1 week. The episode is actually a parody of a movie titled Big, where just like Gumball and Darwin, the character Joshua Baskin turns big. But after a few weeks, Joshua realizes how much better it was being a kid. Not only that, but the song that Gumball and Darwin sing, Because We're Men, could be a reference to the song titled Now That We're Men from the SpongeBob movie, where they also become men, or so they think, after Princess Mindy sticks 2 seaweeds under their noses to make them think they are men. Later in the episode, Gumball and Darwin are playing dodgeball when they suddenly start transforming into adult-sized, muscular versions of themselves. Gumball's change is a clear reference to Bruce Banner from the Marvel movies. In the episode The Club, everyone has a club except for Gumball, making him feel left out. So he tries joining a few, until he realizes he can't swim, isn't smart enough, or just doesn't fit in. So he decides to start his own, except that also doesn't go well. Just when everything seems hopeless, he gets a chance to join the Rejects Club, but he laughs in their faces, claiming he's desperate but not that desperate. In response, they decide to get their revenge by uploading an embarrassingly, totally real video of him. And it's when the Wattersons step in to stop them that we dive into all of the clever references. When they enter the secret hideout, they are faced with Felix, who stops them and says,
"Thou shalt not pass!"
which is a reference to Gandalf's famous line,
"You shall not pass!"
from the movie The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings. In the same scene, we also get a reference to the popular game Dungeons & Dragons, with Richard and Felix using things such as levels, dice, and moves like Magic Missile, and even a kind of freeze spell. Now, the last reference in this episode happens with the other egghead, who, while protecting the computer, makes swooshing sounds, while also swinging his stick, a reference to, of course, Star Wars, but also a viral video where a kid pretends to be a Jedi, recording himself swinging a stick just like a lightsaber. That makes it to all of the references for season 1. But now, let's move on to season 2, where the references just don't stop. In the episode The Colossus, the entire episode is actually a reference to the creator of Gumball, Ben Boclet's favorite video game, Shadow of the Colossus, with the episode literally being titled The Colossus, and Hector being a complete nod to the Colossus in the game. In the episode The Knights, Gumball completely embarrasses himself in front of Penny's dad, and fails to win his approval. And while trying to fix it, he has to deal with Tobias, who is trying to steal his girl. Except he's stopped dead in his tracks over and over. And when he tries again, Tobias shows up at Penny's doorstep, only for Patrick to slam the door on him and crush his foot. And as he's healing from the pain, this is a reference to the Peter hurts his knee meme. In the episode The Fridge, Nicole pushes Gumball to prove himself after he's ranked lowest on the family chart. From wrestling old ladies over some discount to leaving him in the desert, she does not back down. But this most definitely could be a reference to the classic 1976 movie Rocky, where, like Rocky training scenes, with Nicole pushing Gumball through crazy challenges, it even ends with him carrying her up the stairs, just like Rocky's famous stair run. We also get references from The Predator. No, not that kind of Predator. I mean the 1987 Predator film, specifically the jungle scene, where the characters move through trees and set traps, just like the Wattersons do during the paintball fight. We also get a subtle reference to Naruto, with the mask Anais is wearing being a reference to the Anbu from Naruto, who also wear animal-faced masks to hide their identities. In the episode The Flower, Gumball is consumed by jealousy when he sees Penny and Leslie together and proceeds to try to break them up by any means possible. He first tries to confront Leslie, but his weak body does no damage, and as they walk off, he makes one last desperate move, shouting, which is just one of the many references you'll see of Street Fighter. Then, after a failed attempt at framing Leslie and almost killing her, Carrie finally steps in to help them and perform an exorcism, so they can get rid of Gumball's jealousy for once and for all. It's a great time to mention how the entire episode is a reference to the movie The Exorcist, where they perform an exorcism on a girl who is possessed. The last reference appears when Leslie pulls out a vacuum cleaner, and on it is an ABCD sticker, which is a clear reference to the famous rock band AC/DC. In the episode The Phone, Darwin becomes obsessed with an old brick phone, but it becomes so much of a problem that Gumball gives him a reality check, only to also accidentally roast Ocho's mom.
This has to stop! I'm sorry, but Darwin isn't available right now, or ever again. Please, get a life, stop texting, and never call again after the beep! Beep!
You're right. Ocho and I are phone addicts.
Please don't tell me that was Ocho I just spoke to.
And start a fight. They start off trying the friendly approach, but after dying and respawning with extra lives, they realize the only way to win is to fight back old school style. And as they fight, the scene becomes a clear reference to Space Invaders. The same reference also shows up earlier in the episode when Gumball and Darwin are playing a video game that's an obvious parody of it, and their combo breaker move is also a reference to another classic, Killer Instinct. In the episode The Treasure, when the kids find the holy grail of groceries, they start to question literally every item they have, from their so-called blender to a fake MP3 player. The Wattersons even own a knockoff DVD, but the movie in question is actually a reference to the company Video Q and Doug, who make knockoff movies, and the movie itself refers to 3 major movies, like How to Train Your Dragon, Ratatouille, and Kung Fu Panda. In the episode The Words, Darwin has a problem. He is too nice. Yeah, what a problem to have. So Gumball, being the great brother he is, tries to help him by teaching him how to be more direct, but that quickly backfires as he becomes a total villain. Eventually, Gumball has had it with Darwin's new jerk persona and drags him outside for a full-on Street Fighter showdown. From references to the versus screen, victory poses from popular characters like Chun-Li, to downright just the moves, this episode is packed with Street Fighter references. In the episode Christmas, the Wattersons hit a man that they think is Santa. Nicole swears he's just a homeless guy, but despite the odds, he eventually reveals his real identity, and it turns out to be the jolly man we all know and love. But if we look closely, you can see that Gumball is wearing a red, yellow, and blue color scheme with clothes that look weirdly similar to Cartman from South Park. South Park would return the favor by referencing Gumball in the episode The End of Sterilization as We Know It. It means both shows have some sort of respect for each other, which is good, because I wouldn't want South Park to make fun of Gumball like another show. In the episode The Watch, we jump straight into a reference from the 1994 film Pulp Fiction, with Richard yapping about the family heirloom, while Gumball is sitting there acting like he's listening. Just like in the movie, where a character that goes by Captain Coons goes on about a watch passed down through the family, survived wars, and was even hidden in his, well, in a place only he could for safety. In the episode The Authority, after Richard gets hurt and is sent to the hospital, Granny JoJo takes over and forces the family through extreme safety lessons. From chasing Gumball in her car to closing a window, nothing is safe around Granny JoJo. But one of her scare tactics was also using a fake arm to teach Darwin a lesson. This is actually a reference to the show Arrested Development, where a one-armed man named J. Walter Weatherman is hired to constantly fake losing his arms in accidents to scare kids and teach them lessons. Then, after getting into a debate with Nicole about who knows best, Granny JoJo's strict lessons push the family into a wild highway chase. But as they're trying to stop them, Richard accidentally drives the car under a semi-truck and loses the roof, which is a reference to the film Smokey and the Bandit, where they also lose the entire roof of their car. In the episode The Photo, Gumball becomes completely obsessed with getting a perfect school year photo. From face workouts with dumbbells that leave him swollen, to smiling with his eyes that turn into mouths, to Bobbert's laser that burns and tans his skin, Gumball tries it all, but nothing works. So what's better than asking the one who always looks perfect, the perfect balloon himself, Alan? And he confronts him about it, showing pictures of him that all have him in a perfect smile. This is a reference to the meme Ridiculously Photogenic Guy, but of course he doesn't look any better than our boy Alan. In the episode The Tag, after a fight over their trash cans, Gumball and Darwin lock Richard and Mr. Robinson inside of a trash can, forcing them to have to work together to get out. This is obviously a reference to the Saw movies, just less deadly, way less deadly. In the episode The Storm, the scene where Alan and Carmen are all lovey-dovey is a reference to the classic Disney scene from The Lady and the Tramp. In the episode The Voice, after apologizing to everyone, Gumball and Darwin are in the library, where you can see Darwin grow hair and Gumball attracts a bunch of animals. These are both references to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and J.G. Quintel, the creator of Close Enough, and of course, Regular Show. Gumball, being surrounded by animals, mirrors the iconic scene of Snow White peacefully gathering the woodland creatures, while Darwin's hairstyle directly matches J.G. Quintel's. In the episode The Promise, Banana Joe is angry at Gumball and Darwin, and Darwin, being Darwin, Darwin, vows to find out why he's upset. Except Gumball tells Darwin no, as a long-awaited game they've been waiting for, The Tale of Zelmore, is coming out. A reference, obviously, to The Legend of Zelda. But Darwin insists on helping poor Banana Joe. That is until he decides to stay with Gumball, leaving poor Banana Joe in a cast for not being there when they needed him. They try to apologize by telling him to ring a bell, 1 ring for yes and 2 rings for no, which is a reference to Hector Salamanca from Breaking Bad, who also communicated with the bell. I just hope someone doesn't have bombs under that seat. In the episode The Castle, Gumball and Darwin rush to get ready for school, only to realize it's Saturday and Richard is in charge, which means no rules. It all seems great until Elmore citizens join in, eventually taking over the Wattersons' house. Every attempt to kick them out fails because Richard just cannot simply say no. When all hope is lost, however, Nicole returns, and you know not to mess with her. But when Harold does challenge her, she gives him the present stare, which if you don't know, is the Ghost Rider's signature move that forces victims to feel the weight of all their sins. In the episode The Tate, Gumball and Darwin set out to record a home movie, filming their family and friends, having multiple hidden references all across. When introducing the characters like some family sitcom, Carrie's last name is said to be Cougar, a reference to Freddy Cougar. In another scene, while stalking Ocho, Gumball sees him use video game cheats to his advantage, from the classic Konami code to spawning Mario coin blocks, and even flashing with his superstar powers. This guy is basically a walking cheat code. But finally, let's move on to season 3, starting off with the first episode, The Kids, where after a crazy roast session, Gumball and Darwin start experiencing something you're probably dealing with right now, and their voices start cracking all over the place. But that doesn't stop Gumball from his first date while trying to take Penny to the mall. Except on the other line, he is met with Papa Bear himself, which leads to this scene right here.
If you never call my daughter again, that will be the end of it. But if you do, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will build a house around you. With no doors.
This is actually a reference to the iconic speech from the movie Taken. After Gumball's attempt to call Penny goes horribly wrong, he decides he and Darwin should just go to the mall instead. And on the way there, they have trouble getting on the bus because of their voices. But the bus driver looks actually quite similar to another character named Jimla from the Lord of the Rings series. And this is then confirmed when the gnomes even mention Mithril, a fake metal that can be found in Lord of the Rings. In the episode The Puppy, Gumball, Darwin, and Anais rehearse a big pitch to convince Richard to let them have a puppy. But before they even get the chance, Richard strolls in with a box, claiming he already bought one, only to find a creepy turtle instead. But don't let his looks fool you, as this turtle is just one big killing machine. From biting, to tearing toys' heads off, to literally walking out of fires like it's nothing, he is not your average Koopa. Why am I saying this? Well, these are all actually references to the movies The Predator and The Terminator. In the episode The Recipe, when Gumball and Darwin see Anton on the bus after dissolving in the pool, they put on their detective hats and try to investigate, finding out that he can be brought back to life with just a toaster. They try it too, but when they lose a clone, they make more to find him. But that is the least of their problems, as the first Anton, Ant 1, comes back for revenge, collecting all the other Antons who met their ultimate fate when Ant 1 pulls the fire alarm, killing them all. And to you, they're all just bread. But for Richard, that's an entire day's worth of food for him. So when they all die, he can of course sense their despair, and says,
I feel a great disturbance in the food chain, as if 1,000 sandwiches cried out in terror and was suddenly silenced.
This is a reference to Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
I feel something terrible has happened.
But it doesn't take long for Ant 1 to join his brothers after falling into the pool and meeting his demise, which is actually a reference to the movie The Good Son, where at the end, the mother is forced to choose one of the two boys to save from a cliff. In the episode The Vacation, when the Wattersons run from an old creepy man they believe want to eat them, they separate from each other, and when Richard surprises Nicole, she kicks him repeatedly with one leg, which which is a reference to Chun-Li's signature move, the lightning kick. In the episode The Fraud, Gumball and Darwin discover that Principal Brown's diploma is fake. He tries bribing them with different things to keep them quiet, and when that fails, he opens a briefcase and a light appears, just like in the movie Pulp Fiction. In the episode The Void, Molly goes missing, so Gumball, Darwin, and Mr. Small follow the clues and stumble upon a crack in reality that pulls them into the Void, a place where all the world's mistakes go. From jorts, laser discs, and mullets, it has them all. But these specific items could be a reference to regular show, with each item being a part of things like the Format Wars, Death Kwon Do, or the Sandwich of Death. They also find a paperclip with a blue frog, both references to Clippy from Microsoft Office, and the blue frog looks like Crazy Frog. In the episode The Move, Gumball and Clayton look ready to fight. Darwin tries to calm things down, but they won't listen, and he pulls out the biggest guns and transforms into his other form, a reference to Super Saiyan from Dragon Ball Z. In the episode The Law, Gumball and Darwin get stopped by Donut Cop after breaking the rules and write them up, which they think is very uncool. So he tries to prove that cops can be cool. They mess around with the cop siren, play with the taser, and drive around having all the fun in the world.
That's the sound of law enforcement! That's the sound of law enforcement!
This is a reference to the song Sound of the Police. At one point, a speed camera snaps Donut Cop's car, blasting down the road at 88 miles per hour, a reference to Back to the Future. Then, at the end, they crash into a stroller full of cans and panic that they just hit a baby, which is a reference to the movie Speed. In the episode The Mothers, Gumball, Darwin, Tobias, and Banana Joe set up a contest to see whose mom is the best, from running up an escalator to dodging falling objects, and even a hot sauce challenge. But despite the odds, Nicole comes on top as the winner. But to Nicole, it didn't feel like a victory at all, and she angrily sends Gumball and Darwin to the car. Feeling guilty, the boys later try to make it up to her with a huge banner, which she ends up leaving them dangling off a building and in real danger. That's when Nicole's supermom side kicks in, and she charges in to rescue Gumball and Darwin just in time, which of course is a reference to Superman, even rocking his hair. In the episode The Procrastinators, Nicole orders Gumball and Darwin to take out the trash by 5 p.m., and if not, they have to face the Terminator, a reference to the Terminator, even saying the famous line,
I'll be back.
I'll be back at around 5.
But despite that, Gumball and Darwin do what they do best and procrastinate all day, playing video games, having food fights, and getting sucked into Elmore Plus. At one point, Darwin shows off his moves like moonwalking like Michael Jackson and finishing it off with the iconic in the episode The Shell. The entire episode is supposed to be a parody of Beauty and the Beast, with Gumball as the Beast and Penny as the Belle. A headbutt cracks Penny's shell, revealing her true fairy form, and misunderstandings make her shapeshift into multiple creatures, while Gumball chases and protects her through the streets. In the end, he reassures her that looks don't matter. They share a real kiss, and Penny returns to her fairy form as they embrace, just like in the play. But Ben Boclet would also describe the episode as, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that, with references to multiple Hayao Miyazaki films like Spirited Away, Princess Monokai, Howl's Moving Castle. Penny shapeshifts through this episode. She becomes a dragon like Haku in Spirited Away, a wolf like in Princess Mononoke, and Gumball even kisses her wolf form, referencing Sophie and Howl in Howl's Moving Castle. In the episode The Bros, Darwin gets jealous of Gumball and Penny's relationship. He reacts by spying on Penny every chance he gets, running away whether she says hi. In the cafeteria, we see another reference to Lady and the Tramp with Gumball and Penny, until Darwin comes to ruin it. In the episode The Mirror, Gumball receives a scary chain email that's supposed to curse the Wattersons if he doesn't forward it. At first, Gumball ignores the email, thinking it's a joke, But soon, strange things start to happen, like the family seemingly disappearing. These events led to the appearance of the Snatcher, who abducts Anais, Nicole, and Richard through mirrors. This character is a direct reference to classic horror tropes, including manifestations through reflective surfaces like Samara in The Ring, and the way he is summoned by saying his name 5 times in front of a mirror is a nod to Candyman. As Gumball and Darwin realize the Snatcher has taken their family, Carrie appears and explains that they need a way to defend themselves. She takes out her notebook, which contains the magical instructions to summon the Snatcher safely and break his curse. The notebook is a reference to Necromean from Evil Dead, a book of dark magic bound in human skin. In the episode The Pizza, the Wattersons are all angry, each stating that they had the worst day ever. They then argue over whose turn it is to make dinner, and as they say pass it on to the next person, Gumball opens his mouth like the Predator. They then decide to order pizza, and while waiting, yap about their day. Nicole complains about her car breaking down and crashing out on Larry, while Richard tells his joyful burger experience, while also talking about Gumball, Darwin, and Anais's day at the video store, in which they reference a ton of different media, from mentioning short descriptions of movies like Harry Potter, Star Wars, and Planet of the Apes. In the episode The Lie, it's January, and everyone is coming down from the best months of the entire year. So Gumball and Anais invent a fake holiday called Sluzzletag to continue that cheerful feeling in Elmore. That's when Darwin shows up. Not the bright happy fish we all know, but a black and white, gloomy version of himself, which is a reference to Steamboat Willie. Afterwards, Sluzzletag quickly spreads through Elmore, and everyone's loving it. Everyone except for Miss Simeon, who shoots a Grinch-like grin straight at the camera, and she's already plotting to ruin the holiday. In Elmore shopping, Gumball, Darwin, and Richard are ready to celebrate, with the most important part of any holiday being the food. When asked what they can eat for Sluzzle Feast, Gumball tells them junk food, the worst you can think of. And without wasting a second, Richard creates the Sluzzle Worst, in a scene that references Sailor Moon. In the episode The Saint, Gumball tries everything to make Alan, the always positive balloon, lose his control, from ruining his social media, wrecking his relationship, and even torturing his parents. Alan stays kind and calm, and repeatedly makes a face with a beam shining to him, which is a reference to the Yarnakata face. Also, in a scene where Alan is being scolded by the adults, while Gumball and Darwin just watch, they wonder why he would take the blame. In the background, a little Hulk can be seen, with his catchphrase, "Smash," which you should go down and do to that subscribe button. In the episode The Safety, it begins with a creepy safety video called Watch Out Little Teddy, a reference to public safety videos, something the UK commonly put out. This leaves Darwin terrified, and he quickly becomes overprotective of Gumball, treating even the smallest things as dangerous threats. From food to cartoons, nothing was safe. But it wasn't your average cartoon. The cartoon followed a wolf and an ostrich, a nod to Coyote and the Roadrunner from Looney Tunes. The rest of the episode follows Darwin's extreme mission to make everything in Elmore safe, but not before the Wattersons have anything to do with it. And after one break-in later, inside are the guards.
Did anyone see what happened? I'm pretty sure I didn't hit this guy.
A reference to the 1966 Batman series. Lastly, the phrase "it is for our own good" can be a reference to the film Hot Fuzz, in which the brainwashed people say, "For the greater good." Shut it! In the episode The Society, the students audition for a school play by acting as famous people from history. Alan plays George Washington, Sarah plays Thomas Jefferson, Idaho takes on Theodore Roosevelt, Tobias dresses as Bill Clinton and carries a saxophone, a nod to Bill Clinton playing it on TV during the 1992 election, and Terry plays Abraham Lincoln and begins with the line,
7 years ago, plus some more years,
which is from the Gettysburg's address speech, delivered by Abraham Lincoln. Anton also plays Richard Nixon and says the famous line,
I'm not a crap!
a reference to the Watergate scandal. But of course, Gumball is there. Ignoring the theme, he shows up as Robin Hood and proceeds to act like multiple other characters from different franchises, including Indiana Jones, The Hulk, and even a scene from Romeo and Juliet. In the episode The Spoiler, Gumball and Darwin want to see the new horror movie The Screaming, but they don't have money. Anais offers to pay if she can come along, but Gumball refuses, saying that it would traumatize her. While waiting for his allowance, Gumball struggles all week to avoid spoilers from classmates, family, and even strangers. But when Tobias is about to spoil them with the movie, he shuts him up and tells Darwin to clear him, which he does and redraws his face like an Etch-a-Sketch. The next reference appears when Anais is trying to convince Gumball to take her to the movie, where the TV is seen playing an anime that looks a lot like Pokemon. In the episode The Countdown, Gumball and Darwin miss the bus. At first, Gumball doesn't care, but the moment Darwin reminds him that Miss Simeon will expel them if they're late again, he panics and spins, putting on his clothes, a reference to Wonder Woman's transformation. As time is running out for them to get to school, Gumball asks Darwin how bad would it be if they were expelled from school, and Darwin says,
Well, we would probably never get a job, slowly drift away from society, live in the sewers, eat toxic waste, mutate, and end up in a freak show with fingers instead of teeth.
a reference to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, who were mutated and live underground. Luckily for them, they somehow stop reality and basically become gods, going through multiple different timelines, from the dawn of the universe to prehistoric Earth, and even a strange alternate version of Elmore. In one timeline, everyone even acts like they're creatures from the Alien movies. Someone has to explain what's Gumball's deal with the alien. In the episode The Nobody, Gumball and Darwin are grounded after being accused of stealing from their family, even though they insist they're innocent. At first, they blame each other, but quickly realize they're both in the clear. After messing around, they realize that they're not alone, and one accident leads them to a secret basement that they never knew they had, a reference to Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade. Then, in the basement, they end up finding the culprit, who is Rob, and he runs out of the house, with Gumball and Darwin following him. They try to seem more friendly by running less scary, which is a reference to the giants from Attack on Titan. In the episode The Downer, Gumball is in a terrible mood, but the Wattersons don't care and keep bothering him, leading him to shout for them just to leave him alone, making them disappear. He first enjoys his new freedom by smashing a Lego city, a clear reference to Godzilla, who is famously known for destroying Tokyo. But not only did the Wattersons disappear, but so did the entire town of Elmore. He then notices strange changes around them. Joyful Burger is now the Misery Burger. The economy is in ruins. Okay, well, I mean, that's no different. And a billboard is advertising Captain Crud that has a pirate mascot, which is a clear reference to Captain Crunch. But Gumball is then forced to run home when a shadow sweeps over Elmore, forcing him to get out of there. One item the shadowy figure consumes and changes is the Wattersons family picture, with the once happy family portrait, a reference to the painting Scream by Edvard Munch. But those were all the references I could find. You better subscribed, or I don't know, I don't feel like threatening you today.